Hi, and welcome to Promote, Profit, Publish. We are so honored today to have a really awesome guest. I'm very excited about it. But I want to mention before we get into our guest and our interview, I want to have you go over and take our Promote, Profit, Publish quiz. It's at www.promoteprofitpublishquiz.com. Find out if your skill set is up to where you need to be to make money with your products and services before your book is ever published. So today I have, and I'm really excited about this, Jeff Magee, Dr. Jeff Magee. I better get that doctor in there.
Thank you.
Dr. Jeff Magee brings over 2 decades of executive and corporate development expertise, with the last decade working in both the startup and mature growth market business sector, and with differing state, national guard, adjutant generals across America. That's like quite a mouthful there.
It is.
Jeff has and does maintain long-term clients working with association and organizations at the board level and across the C-suite. Beyond this, the importance of working with an organization entire human capital platform, from onboarding integration and sustained engagement, is critical for an organization's health blueprint. Jeff works with organizations, profit and nonprofit, private and public sector, in the multi-million-dollar earnings market through $6 billion earnings market. Understanding the reality of hard work and ethics and drive from an early age, and raised on a farm, Jeff started his first business at age 15. That's pretty cool.
I love it.
And sold it before going to college. Did that finance college?
It did finance college and a lot of other things, yes.
Oh, very cool. By the age of 24, he was recognized as by American Home Products, a Fortune 500 company, as its top salesman in the nation, while at the same time becoming the youngest certified sales instructor for the Dale Carnegie sales course. After experiencing downsize in 1987, he went to work as a sales associate for the nation's largest educational and youth advertising marketing firm, Target Marketing, and was promoted to Vice President of Sales and Chief Operating Officer within 2 years. I have to stop there. You're going to have to share your own accomplishments since then, but welcome. I'm so excited.
Thank you very much.
Here today.
Thank you.
So our topic today is going to be something that has become really near and dear to my heart over the last couple of weeks. I usually don't go to events where we have an author that is driven at the end. I'm not much for those anymore. I'm more about the workshops where we have deliverables and we actually bring people in to work. But I've had some big revelations over the last couple of weeks. So we're going to talk today about, are you a self-proclaimed expert? Or are you a wannabe? And when you're out at these events, how to identify and tell the difference. So Jeff, I'm excited. Let's do this. I
love it. Thank you. And it is what you just framed there for your viewers today and in the future is critical. You know, who do you go to for advice, wisdom, counsel? Who do you invest in to build your own personal business practice, or your business if you're scaling it and have employees and staff, whether they're virtual or residential to where you live and work, is critical. We live in a world today where, just if you look at LinkedIn, which is a phenomenal platform, and you look at people that are identifying themselves as coaches or consultants or experts or professional speakers, I mean, every day that number morphs by, I don't know what, but it is morphing. And it's very alarming as to who believes they have the right, the benefit, the earned stripes to share their mental DNA. Now, again, it's great that they have the self-confidence to want to do it, but there's a tremendous amount of derailment happening because people are very good at self-marketing, but they have no deliverables, none. They should never be allowed to even speak in public is how bad they are.
So I think one place to start here is let's define what a deliverable is. Because I think a lot of people, when they go to events, they get really hyped up. They get excited about, I'm here, I'm learning, this person's a guru. But they don't actually understand deliverables.
And that's a great point. You can look at deliverables, whether they're tangible or intangible, because that's the first place to start. We have great companies in American history that the entire economic engine of our country was benchmarked off of. So again, I'm sure all of your viewers and listeners today remember companies such as Ben Franklin, Five and Dime, Woolworth, Montgomery Ward's, Sears and Roebuck. I mean, those were the great companies that built America, if you go back 100 years ago. If any of those names are not familiar to anyone, then there's your clue, because they're all basically out of business today as we're talking. And the reason for that, in essence, is not that what those deliverables were ceased to exist. It's that the organization's leadership or key stakeholders did not stay relevant and current for how those deliverables needed to be engaged in the marketplace. Again, I'm sure in the late 1990s to early 2000s, so we're going backwards in time as we're recording this today, someone working in Sears, as an example, a giant of American mercantile, had to have had kids that were on the internet themselves. I'm sure they, in essence, went to other stores to buy, but they were not looking at what are the deliverables people want to buy now and recognizing, hey, we're not selling that. We're selling outdated crap. Our store looks like a dump, and so it pushes people away and no one wants to come by. That history lesson is very important to answer your question what deliverables are, because a lot of times people, the deliverable they need isn't changing, but how they want to receive it is. So it's either a tangible or an intangible, but in either case, it serves a need. You go anywhere today, as your listeners are participating right now, you've got to keep your clothes clean. So whether you're sending it out to someone else or you're doing it yourself, there's going to be some sort of a cleaning machine to take care of your clothes. Oh, guess what? We're wearing clothes. So someone's going to have to make these, and we're going to have to get them somehow, whether they're delivered to our home or we go somewhere to get them. So the concept of deliverable, if people would stop and think, they would not be investing tremendous amounts of money in crap that they get mad about and then blow up the internet by saying, I got nothing. So the deliverables, first of all, what is your need? Where are you now? Where are you trying to go? What's your need? So then once you understand that trajectory, which is kind of one of the things I talk about in my book, Trajectory Code, then you say, okay, how do I get there? What are the key performance indicators, the stepping stones to get there? Delivering a need. So this book here by, in essence, John Wiley, the largest trade book publisher in the world, in essence, served a need because I primarily live in the business world, and sales is where I grew up. So all of my books and audios and videos and online learning portals and white papers and articles and blogs and et cetera, I just gave your listeners a long list of deliverables, speak specifically to those two spaces. But listening to my clients several years ago, I had one of my customers, she came up and said, Jeff, your concept that you talk about here in this trajectory code that we've been using in leadership for years, I used at home with my kids and my husband, and we have a phenomenal house because the reason I used it was I had one boy starting to go in the wrong trajectory, another boy in the right trajectory. How do we get them on the right trajectory together? Boom, that was the seed. I could create a new deliverable and write my only personal success book. So you've asked a powerful question. So deliverables have to address the need. They should be tangible or intangible, and they should be legitimate in the stepping stones to get there. If at the front side you're going to buy something and none of that's being added up to, haven't even got to the better list that you have in your hand, then right there you shouldn't be buying. And then ask for the person. Whenever I buy a book, so whether it's getting this book or my sales book or a college textbook, one of the things I always do is I jump to the About Author page, whether it's inside, back cover, and quickly read that author. Because authors are going to fall into three categories, and then you'll know what deliverable you're going to get. You're going to have authors that have tremendous academic mindset on their topic, which means you're going to read a theory book. That's perfect. We need some of that. You're going to have authors that have actually got their brains and hands dirty in life, so you're going to have a practitioner's book, things you can use right now. And then a third is a book that's complete crap. It's made up, it's all lies, but it looks beautiful, and the author's a one-trick pony because they probably stole the idea actually from someone else. They worked at Gallup, they had access to inside information, they wrote a book and become a wonder, or they worked at a marketing company, or they worked at a consulting company, had access to data, and they basically took that data, which in other businesses would have got them sent to prison. But they write a book on something, and everyone got excited, so no one's going to raise their hand and say, well, wow, you outed me because you kind of said something nice about me, so that's good. But they have no follow-up. I mean, I call those basically very disingenuous people and books because people get excited about that deliverable, there's your word, but they really can't put their arms and hands around anything because there's nothing there. It's like cotton candy. Looks good, boom, gone, nothing.
That's awesome. And I want to speak to that last, the group that you talked about as well. When I first got into the publishing business, we took on an author who got stuck on a chapter of her book. And the writing coach came to me and said, I don't know why we're stuck on this joint venture piece. And I called up the potential author and I said, why are we stuck here? How many times have you done this? Turned out she'd never done this. She was writing a book, 6 figures in 6 months, joint ventures were the way to do it, but she never actually participated in one. So she was stuck.
See, and that's what's huge. Again, if you're going to pay to go to an event, an expo, a conference, a boot camp, a summit, to learn how to get from where you are to where you want to be, and that person's saying, I can show you the pathway, or you're going to buy a book on that same topic, you just hit it right at the nail on the head. I mean, you need to really ask questions about the author. You know, if I'm going to go to an event and someone's going to talk about how to make six figures from the stage as a speaker, then I'm going to want to ask that person, in essence, you know, give me 5. Always ask plural. Give me 3, 4, 5 names I can call and talk to right now that have hired you to come speak at their event, that can attest to the fact that you sold 6 figures of product at the back of the room, or that organization paid you 6 figures to come on the stage. And if they can, by all means, you need to be there, because you're now sitting at the feet of someone who has tremendous IP and can help you. Here's a better pop quiz. Everyone has a smartphone today. You're talking to someone about, you know, they want you to come to their event, whatever it is, you know, pay $500, $50,000, whatever, doesn't matter, to learn how to be great. Then you should say, you know what, can you grab your phone and pull up, in essence, someone's name in there? So again, too much brightness here. So again, you know, pull up the name, you know, and then just ask them, give me the names of 3 or 4 people in your phone, because everyone has a contact list. And then say, you know, can I call and talk to those people? You know, again, if you can't give someone information on what they want, you've just vetted that you're about ready to deal with an absolute BS artist. So again, you can pull up names. You can pull up highly, in essence, sensitive names, but don't matter. You know, I publish a national magazine, and for over a decade, that person right there wrote for my magazine. He's now the president of the United States. Doesn't matter. I've had President Obama, President Clinton write. You know, again, if you want to, you know, to talk to people that are really going to be able to legitimately give you something, quit dealing with people that are just complete BS artists. Again, have them pull up their voicemail. Have you had a message from someone lately? I mean, boom, you know, there's all kinds of people out there you can talk to. There's Coach Bob Knight. So again, who works with you? So that statement you've given, I've just now given you 3 ways to vet someone for legitimacy or BS. Tell me someone's paid you. Give me plural answers. Grab your phone. Give me 2 or 3 people right now that I can call and talk to prove that you are selling me on this, that you've ever done it. Magee, you get, in essence, you know, $10,000+ every time you walk out on stage for corporate in America where you're working with the military? Yes. Give me some of those names. And I can give you names right now, where I was last week, where I'm going to be tomorrow, where I'm going to be for next month. I can show you my calendar. I mean, I'm booked for 2 years out, legitimately doing this stuff. And I'm not the person out there that has, you know, major brand recognition of name because I'm only touting me. I mean, you hit a vein, and I'm really excited about it, Julie, because we've got to help your listeners to recognize, again, some of these people are just absolutely out there for themselves, and they have no genuine interest in helping you.
I love that. That is one of the things that we've started doing in our own company, not lifting up the phone, but if somebody needs testimonials, I'll give them 5 names, 5 numbers. You pick who you want to call, talk, and see if you get results. And I don't think there are many marketing companies out there that will do that. They'll send you to the website. You can fake all that over on a website. Hate to tell you that, guys, but I actually let a company go because I realized after I kept pressing that they were faking the testimonials on their website. Fake names.
And that's what's sad is a lot. Well, I'll give you one better than that. I've actually had employees leave my company, start their own business, and copy paste my own credentials and bios as theirs first person. It blows your mind. I mean, I've had you know, people that I've liked, and it was very hard for me to let go of them in my life because, again, it was hard to believe they would do exactly what you just said. I mean, they were completely manufacturing their life. If you go on the internet and you just started looking in social mediaville, it's amazing. You know, someone has a company and a website and everything, but very few people, especially younger people, actually go back in social mediaville, because once you put something up there, it's never down. I mean, we started finding this one person had a whole new identity and company about every year for the past decade. It's like, you know, just blows your mind. And again, you know, we publish a national magazine and have had phenomenal people write for it. And phenomenal people don't make up their credentials. And they also, I found, have been very genuine in wanting to help other people.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So tell us some of the ways. I have this article that you have on your website about the self-proclaimed, sure I can say that, self-proclaimed expert in Wannabe. Can you tell us some of those things that we should really be on the lookout for? You gave us some great examples, but if we're looking at a bio, we're getting ready to go to an event, somebody's called and said, everybody at this event has, you know, paid $15,000 to be there. What should we be looking at for the leaders of that event? And if this is really an imposter or somebody who's going to do some good in the world?
Great question. Great question. So one, again, viewers can go to my website, jeffreymagee.com. You see the spelling of my name there at the bottom of the screen, so you spell it correctly, and you can request a document that Juliet you're talking about. So let's answer it directly to the way you posed the question. If I'm going to go to an event and there's other people there and I'm being told it's going to cost X amount of money, then I would say, can you introduce me to a half a dozen of the other attendees? Or can I get a list of all of the registered attendees so far? And the person can say, why? And you can say, because I want to make sure I maximize my time at your event. So I want to see who some of the other people are that are going to be there that I can network with and collaborate with, because that's a genuine statement to make. But you also are then at the same time going to be able to vet the other person. Whenever I go to a conference, that's one of the things I ask. A lot of times they say, well, the list is not available. We don't let everyone have that. And I say, hey, I can appreciate that. I'm about to make a sizable investment in time, not necessarily the money. Forget the money. What all of our viewers have got to recognize, whether it's 5,000 or 50,000, we can talk obscene numbers. You can get and lose money, and you can get and lose money again, and you can get and lose money a third time in your life, folks. What you're never going to get back, though, again, is time. Time is more valuable than anything else, no matter how rich or poor you are. It's the great equalizer, because we all have the same amount of time. There's no way you can buy more time. So you got to be smarter with your time. So that's why I'm asking for the list, because I want to network. I want to know, who else is going to be at this event? Oh, wow, there's a lady named Juliet Clark. I see what her business is. Wow, she helped authors finish the line any way you want. Well, I'm an author. Wow, I want to network with this lady and get a chance to meet her. I might even want to, get on LinkedIn and link with her, maybe have an exchange with her before the event, and maybe coordinate having coffee when I get to this event with her. So that's one very powerful way to vet the legitimacy of it. Because then when you're talking to those other 3 or 4 people, you can find out, why are you going? What are you trying to accomplish? Because again, mutual reciprocity, I might be able to help you grow. And then I can then go to the question of, I'm making a major investment of 5,000 to be at this event, Juliet. What are you making the same investment? So if what you're trying to find out is, are we all paying the same amount? You can get there by a whole series of steps. Second way to vet the event, have you done the event before? Yes. Again, go to their website. Do they have testimonials from people that are worded text or videos? Again, that's another great way. If they're worded text, again, I put testimonials up, but a long time ago, I realized I'm not putting the person's entire name and business there, because other people will then stalk them. I've had some people go, well, you don't put the whole name and company, so is this legit? And it's like, yeah, you want to talk about legit? Bring it on, baby. So you give me your name and phone number. You're legitimate about coming. I will facilitate email introductions to every introduction I have on LinkedIn or on my websites. So that calls out the bluff of the people that are full of crap themselves. Look at the videos. Again, I don't mean to sound disrespectful, but again, birds of a feather flock together. So when you look at videos and you see a bunch of people that you would think, shit, I'd never even hang out with them, to be blunt, then you might want to reconsider. Or maybe not. Again, there may be people that are trying to elevate themselves in life, so that's cool too, but I'm just giving you common sense answers. There's a whole lot of ways. Again, go to people's websites, see what they say they do. The speaker, the event you're going to, if they're going to help you to become a coach or a consultant or a speaker or a trainer or an author, those 5 are critically important. So you might want to back this video up and rewatch it again and get those lists. Because if you can wear any one of those hats, you can wear all 5 of those hats. Any one of them you can monetize. Others might be lead generators to your business, so you may not monetize a couple of those. So again, if I'm a speaker, trainer, author, coach, consultant, author, then you go to that event, what's the platform that person says they are, and ask them. Again, today, as we watch this video, being self-published takes on a whole different meaning than it did, in 2001, let's say, or 1999. Again, it used to be, back up, decade plus, if you're self-published, it's because you had nothing legitimate to say and no one really legitimate wanted to publish you. That's why you're self-published. And it even looked, with all due respect, it looked like crap. No one's going to tell you that. But today, self-publishing is a legitimate industry, and there are major publishing houses out there that work with people that don't want to go to the John Wiley, the McGraw-Hills, the et ceteras, or don't want to go to Pearson Education. So you can go to the big boys, and I've got a lot of those books with the big boys. But I also sometimes self-publish, because then I can customize for example, the forward. I can sell to a client that I'm going to walk on their stage and speak to 140 people or 1,400 people or 14,000 people. It becomes a revenue generator. I can sell the forward of my book to someone. Now it's customized to their group. The book might cost me $3 to print. I can charge them $10. The book price might be $40. I'm now making $7 a book times 1,000 people. Do the math. That's why, in essence, I'm making bank. You get smart. Those are things in the real business. So if the person on stage is not telling you things like that, boom, we just answered Juliet's question. You got someone on stage that's great at selling themselves, and they just, in essence, stuck it to you. So ask the questions. Are they legitimate? Those are a couple quick ways, Juliet, to answer that question. Does that help?
I love that. Wow. And you just came up with an idea that I've never even thought of when I'm speaking on someone else's stage, because it isn't that much to re-upload with a new forward. Wow.
So, and I've done that. There used to be a group in the country called the United States Junior Chamber of Commerce, USJCs. And in 1921, they were started with a mandate to help young men and women to develop their business and leadership skills in the local community. Beautiful mandate and mission statement, still valid today. They were the first basically association in the United States to have over 1 million members. And today they're basically almost out of business and extinct, because their national leadership forgot their mandate and they went off track. Back to your first question, their deliverables started to suck. Young people are not going to join an organization where the deliverables suck. But for years, that's exactly how I created thousands and thousands of dollars of profit and revenue, because whenever I'd write a book, I would basically sell them the forward, because their president changes every year. They're ceremonially elected. So I'd sell the president, write the forward. Here's the book. I'm speaking to a national convention. Everyone gets a book. They loved it. And that's how I also beta tested a lot of my new books. And then I got them to pay for my inventory that gave me the new free books to sell to other people. And then I could use that book and that sales traction to then go to the big trade houses to make the case through my book queries of why buy my book. So everything has a strategy. Okay, let's hit pause for your viewers. What Juliet and I just did is an example of what should be happening on stage to any event you pay to go get money for. What's a deliverable? They're going to be able to tell you and show you how to take an idea in your head, take it into productivity, sell it to the marketplace, and make money at the end of that and make profitability. If they can't do that, you're talking to a person on stage that has a good gimmick to get you in the room, but they're either recycling someone else's content, recycling someone else's IP, or they're recycling, in essence, I have no idea what it is and why you're in that room. And if you go to an event, if you really want to hold them accountable, in an email, create a documentation show before you buy their event. I want to come to this event. They're going to tell you why it's so great. Oh, that sounds fantastic. They'll tell you, you got to pay and come. You'll say, I want to do that. They'll say, oh, we'd love to have you. Then say, oh, by the way, do you offer a money-back guarantee on all the things you just said in this email of how great you are, that if I come to this 2-day event and at the end of day one, I'm not getting, in essence, what you promised or what I need to grow forward, you will comp my money back right now at the end of day one and give me day 2 free. Call or bluff. I've done that, and I've never had anyone say, give me your money back, because usually by day 2, they're overwhelmed in a positive way with so much content they can use. They now need to know what's the next step, which is what I also do to help you with that. Call people's bluffs. Call them out on this stuff.
That is awesome. But you just addressed one of my questions here. I think get into it a little bit more. You're sitting in the room, you're hearing the pitch at this event, and your emotion, you feel the energy, you see what everybody else is doing in the room, but you're driven by emotion. We actually have a contract that states the deliverables when you sign up. How do you separate that in that moment with what is emotion and what is fact? Because I know a ton of people who, they'll sit in a room, they'll sign up for something, and then they get into it and they're like, oh, this isn't what I thought it was at all.
So there's a couple of huge clues. In the promotional literature, marketing, or commentary of what this event is so great, if the person dares to mention that they're an NLP expert, it's an NLP program, that's the first clue. You should go to the event if the rest of the event's what you want, but do not take your credit cards with you, because NLP done correctly is a way to psychologically, communication-wise connect with someone at their level, because it's really about neuro-linguistic programming, how our brain works. As a performance psychologist, I don't want to go much further because it's not the purpose of this event. But the problem in the last couple of decades is people have taken NLP and they use it in a very disingenuous way to do exactly what you just said and get that emotion going, and you should never buy on emotion. What we know in reverse is that people do buy on emotion, because you do the triggers of emotion, buy now, only today, you've got to get it here, you don't want to be left out, they make you feel like a schmuck if you don't. So I would go up to the person, and if that was you, Juliet, I'd say, Juliet, I want to buy this. Here's how you know if Juliet's legit or she's about ready to stick it to you, which is her setup. I want to buy this, but you know what? I want to sleep on it tonight. If you really believe in this deliverable you're offering, and I wake up tomorrow morning, I really want to buy it, I want to have the same offer you're offering right now. Juliet says no, I would run. There may be reasons she's going to say no that's tangible, But if she hesitates to say, no, I don't want you to think on a buy now, then that's another way you can vet. Wait a minute, am I buying hype? Am I buying this big cotton candy thing that looks great, but there's really no substance? When I do a program, which is rare, I do these kinds of events that you've just talked about. I never play that emotion game. If someone says, I want to buy this, but I've got to wait until next month when my money comes in. I want to think about this. My immediate response is, I will honor this offer whenever you're ready. But you know what? You said something that's very concernful to me. You said when you get your money, this event is X amount of dollars, and I'm not going to negotiate that down. But what I do want to make sure is if you come to this, I don't want to put you in an economic hardship. So, and then I might say, we've got 4 months before the event. If you want to break this down and make payments, I don't have any problem working with you, but it has to be paid in full before the event versus you making a major payment right now, and that puts you in economic hardship for the next 30, 60, 90 days. I'm going to work with a person that way. If you believe in your deliverable, you're not necessarily going to scholarship someone and give it away free, although I do a lot of that. Someone's going to pay because I want them to have skin in the game. I'm not in the ministry business. This is not about freebie crap, folks. I'm a capitalist and strongly believe in it. So that's how I'm going to play it. But again, buying on emotion is the biggest mistake you can make. And whoever the event promoter is, if they're not willing to work with you, that's another clue. They probably have a huge return. They've got a lot of negative commentary in social media if you did some searches.
Very, very good. What else would you suggest people look for? I want to say when they're on stages that we should really be looking at the body of their work as well before they get up
Absolutely.
there.
So on this checklist that I put together, Julia, the body of the work is probably a great way to frame it for your viewers. There are always exceptions to any rule. That's a very powerful adage and saying. There's always an exception. But if there's an exception, it's because there's such an overwhelming piece of factoid here that says, I'm willing to set this to the side because this makes all of this stuff disappear. So a little common sense with what I'm about to say. So given that, set that to the side. I think the body of work I'm looking at is if I'm going to go to someone who's talking about, taking your mindset, your intellectual property, and putting that into words on paper, some of the things you do, writing a book, etc., then I'm going to want to know, how long have you been doing this, Juliet? Again, if you've been doing it for 6 seconds, I got a problem here. Unless you've been doing it for 6 seconds because you've written 37 huge best-selling books. So there has to be a major exception. But how long have you been doing it? Can you show me some of that body of work? Can you email me or mail me, or can I go online and buy it, touch it, order it? Can I go to a store and touch it, buy it, order it? So the tangibles of those things. Again, credentials. If you are in a space, so for example, my credentials, I'm a big believer and proponent that if you are in a space as a consultant, coach, speaker, trainer, author, whatever, and in your industry there is a trade association, you should be a member. If you're a doctor, you should be a member of whatever is a specific trade association for your type of medicine and being a doctor. Same thing as an engineer, or in essence, if you are a chiropractor, you are a lawyer, you are a CPA. So again, what's the space you're in? Now here's where you vet it. Every association has awards that they give out. Call it the Emmys. Whether you have one of those or not doesn't necessarily mean you're great. But every association has an earned certification. There's a huge way you vet. Are you a speaker and you speak on stages for a living? Yes. Are you a member of the National Speakers Association? No. Why not? There better be a huge, huge exception, or UDS has just vetted a joke in front of you. They may not be an active member, but again, if I'm a major league speaker, then I'm probably a member of NSA. I might even be a member of a local chapter. But where you go in that is that the National Speakers Association is the only internationally recognized trade association for experts who speak for a living, and they have an earned certification called CSP, Certified Speaking Professional. It takes up to 5 years to get it maximum, 3 years fastest. Do you have that? Because if they have that, that's one way to legitimize that they're going to be able to help you to become a speaker because they're legit. Or a management consultant. Institute of Management Consultants is the only internationally recognized. They have a certification, CMC, and I've got that one. So do you, I serve on boards. Is there a certification for a legitimate member to be on a board? Yes. Do you have the certification? Yes. So those are example ways. Is there a trade association for them? Yes. Are they a member? Yes. Do they have that certification? No. Why? Ask the question. They can't answer it. You just identified a potential problem. Again, there's always exceptions. I've got a friend of mine who's a public speaker. He makes hundreds of thousands of dollars every quarter, makes millions of dollars every year speaking, and he's a member of NSA, but he doesn't have his CSP because he just, hasn't done it. What's the real reason? You can click and see him on big time stages very quickly to figure out who he is. If they say they're phenomenal, then ask them if they know 4 other phenomenal speakers. Do you know, Lisa Nichols? Do you know Les Brown? Did you know Zig Ziglar? Do you know Brian Tracy? Do you know Tony Robbins? Do you know, Tom Hopkins? Do you know Nito Cobain? Yes, I know all of them. They're friends of mine. Zig Ziglar wrote the 4 to 2 of my books. He wrote for my magazine for over a decade before he passed away. So those are vetting questions. You're writing a book. Show me your books. If every book I have is a book you can't find on the internet, there's a clue. If every book I have is not one of them with a mainstream trade publisher, there's a clue. Have you been on TED Talks? No. You know what? I may like you. You may actually be more legitimate than everyone on TED Talk. There's a significant number of people on TED Talks that their entire talk is fraud. It's made up. It's a lie. But no one, in essence, goes back and pulls those TED Talks down. Again, why are you on a TED Talk? There has to be a reason. If I'm in the business of selling my intellectual property, why would I want to put it out there free for someone? You can make the case, go do a TED Talk. If you can't, don't do a TED Talk. So I just went after TED Talks because that's another phenomenal platform, but I use them as an example. You got to ask the question. Just because someone's done it doesn't make them good or bad. Just because they haven't done it doesn't make them good or bad. There's a series. And so on that article you referenced that I have, it's a free download, I've got about 20 ways you can vet, what they're doing. Have you ever been to college or not? That doesn't necessarily make you good or bad, but have you? What's your degree in? So there's a ton of ways you can identify and vet reality from bull crap.
That's awesome.
Thank you, and you're welcome.
Wow.
All about helping your viewers become more effective at what they do, and we don't need to be investing time and money in people that are going to derail you just so they can get rich faster.
Yes. And we don't even know if they're getting rich faster or not. It's really, one of the things that irks me so much is when I'm on Facebook and I still see people doing these lifestyle, like, look at this house we rented, and we're in Switzerland, and look at this car we have. And it's like, wow, because most of those people really don't live like that.
Well, and that's exactly it, Julie. And there are some people out there, so I won't mention Ty by name, but when you're talking about how great you are on the internet and you're in a rented house with a rented vehicle holding keys to a car that you're boasting is you, but it's a rental car key. I mean, viewers just have to start pulling their head out of their rectal cavity. I mean, start thinking, people. I mean, we have too many people on this planet that are just naive and dumb because, now back to your NLP question earlier, they emotionally want something they don't have, so it's like they lose ownership of their faculties. Start thinking. The most successful people on the planet are very humble. They don't broadcast this stuff.
Well, I agree with that, but I agree with this another piece of that. Going out and hiring 2 or 3 coaches and getting yourself in massive debt over a year's time because you think that will accelerate, that actually will end up holding you back because you cannot hold all of that knowledge at once. And at the end of the day, building a platform is a long-term strategy. Very few people actually have that happen overnight. One of the things that happens with our company is when people bring us books, we'll ask us, who would this book, is there anybody's books that this would be like? And over and over and over, I hear the answer, Jack Canfield's audience is my audience. Jack Canfield's audience didn't become his audience in a day. He spent a lot of time, years building that.
I know Jack Canfield. I know Mark Victor Hansen. They both have written for my book. You are exactly right. People don't understand. I mean, these guys had books in their briefcases, books in their luggage, and books in their trunk. And they would do interviews on AM and FM stations before the satellite world that we're on right now really even got its footing, folks. And they would do, in essence, anyone that would allow them to come on their talk show, they would do those programs. They hawk these things forever. Way back in the beginning, book number 1 of Chicken Soup for the Soul, they partnered with a company called Skill Pass Seminars out of Kansas City back in the old days when it was a great company. And there was a group of trainers of which way back in the late 1980s, early 90s, I was one of those faculty people. They had, in essence, a conference call with the top faculty in that company, which I was one of them, where they pitched what the book was. They pitched the idea of the book. They partnered with Skill Path to sell the actual books and audio program in the back of the room that we stole from the stage. And they talked to us about the concept behind it to get us excited to want to sell their product. So first person, absolutely. They work their butt off. See, here's the problem, Juliet, we have in the world today. And I won't blame parents for this because they're only 90% of the problem. But the problem we have, that again, in talent management work that I do with the adjutant generals of the National Guard, so with senior military, with Fortune 100 companies, with multi-$100 million companies, with leadership and owners, the problem we have is trying to hire people today that are of any age. So it's not just those that are millennials or Generation X and Y or the Zs that are coming up, but I mean any age. We've created a world where everyone thinks that the results are easily attained, and everyone is entitled to nice whatever, fill in the blank, a nice house, only working a little bit, having tons of money, cars, whatever. But we've created a world where this line of people that are envious of what Juliet has is endless. But I've yet to see the line of anyone envious of the work it took to get there. And that's how we're screwing stuff up. And when we hire people today, and we hire them and we give them phenomenal paychecks, we give them full benefits, we give them insurance, we give them flex schedules, we give them romper room and toys and candy in the office, we give them bring your doggy to work day, et cetera, et cetera. Those are not realities of the norm of the business world. It's a great utopia to have, yeah. But the reality is, those were things put on the table way back in the day, but no one teaches history anymore, so that's why we have a bunch of naive, dumb people on the planet. I mean, the reason you got an insurance package was that was called a benefit. It's my way of saying I can give you a paycheck, and I really want to try to attract some great people, so I'm going to try to find a way to squeeze some more money and give you insurance. And it was, family insurance, and it was paid vacation time, and then it was. And that's what we've got these problems. Everyone thinks that this stuff just grows on trees. Well, if you kind of stop for a second, you've almost defined socialism in a way. It's where, again, you can have this stuff, but don't worry about doing anything. I mean, I love Margaret Thatcher's definition. Socialism is great until you run out of everyone else's money.
Yeah.
And that's the problem with what we're talking about here. These people are great at selling you a can of something, but you've never opened up the can to see there ain't nothing in it.
Yeah, I'm going to actually add 5% there to your 90% number. Universities. I'm not going to mention which one of my children, but one of my children brought home an assignment from college, had to interview an entrepreneur. They interviewed me. The last question said, how can I get your job in 2 years? And I told that child, hold on to your shorts, you're about to flunk. And yeah. I reamed that professor. Like, how dare you set that sort of
false judgment, not realistic. Unless you're trying to say, if the thought was, how do I shortcut? It took Juliet, 40 plus years to get to where you are. It took me 50 plus years to get to where I am. How do I shorten that? That's a different question, but it's not how they phrased it. And again, this is not a Jeff Magee line. Here's another way you can vet to know if the person talking is full of crap or not. When they use someone else's idea, how much you give credit to the other person? So this was not Jeff Magee's idea. I've heard it said lots of ways from lots of different people, but here's the point that Juliet, you just made. It's like the person that, sees Rembrandt in a restaurant and says, hey, would you, draw me something? 2-3 seconds later, here it is. And they say, wow, thank you. And he goes, that's $1 bazillion. Well, why? It only took you 2 seconds. Well, it took me a lifetime to figure out how to do that in 2 seconds. I mean, you go to these experts, and the reason you're paying money to go to their program, be in their audience, be in their boot camp, be at their round table, be on their stage, whatever, is you're trying to glean from them. So, Juliet, you've asked a great question, which takes us back to the beginning of this podcast. You're trying to glean from them their legitimate intellectual property that it took them a lifetime to get to, that they're now sharing with you, hopefully in a pathway, in a chronological way, that you can start to implement it to get to where they are in 2 years. Well, what they're really saying is get on the trajectory to get to where they are in the next 2 seconds, 2 days, 2 years. So maybe it took you 40 years to get there. Maybe I could get there in 10. But people got to have not false judgment in their head and false expectations. They've got to be rooted in reality. And again, it keeps going back to our current theme of this whole podcast, which is how do you know if the person you're hiring as a virtual assistant, as an outsource, if you're going to make them a 1099 employee, you're going to collaborate with them, you're going to work for someone. How do you know they're legit? How long have they been doing it? Are they incorporated? Where have they been incorporated? Do they have any tax liens against them? Do they have any judgments against them? Have they ever filed for bankruptcy? If they did, it's not necessarily a bad note, but how did they grow out of that? Are they filing bankruptcy every 5 or 6, 7 years, which means they're sticking it to people every time they get a chance, or did they learn from it? What's their body of work? Who actually buys them? Do they have a list of customers, which is great, but you've never heard of any of them? That should be suspect. I've got a lot of clients that probably people have never heard of, but if you look them up and you go, oh, wow, they're a major player in that space. I mean, they generate hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue. They've got, dozens to hundreds to thousands of employees. Wow, they're legit. Okay, let's look at the next page about Magee. Oh, wow, Harley Davidson, Anheuser-Busch, Boeing, NASA, Pfizer. Wow, I think I've heard of some of those companies. I mean, again, if they're legit, they're going to have a legitimate pedigree. If nothing about them adds up, run.
Right. Jeff, this has been, we could talk all day about this. This is one of my really pet peeves right now.
Thank you.
Where can we find you? And you have some events coming up, correct?
Yes, I do. So the majority of my portfolio of work is with clients. They bring me to work with their associations and their organizations. So after 30 years of playing in that space, which I still do, that is my bread and butter. I've had a lot of people ask the exact question you have. So there are two kind of open to the public sort of events I do. So if you go to my website, jeffreymagee.com, again, there's the spelling right there on this screen. You can find out all more about me, my signature programs, my products, my leadership suite, my online learning LMS, my sales programs, my trajectory code, my books, my magazines, my blogs, vlogs, etc. But under the events tab, I do 2 open enrollment public programs throughout the course of the year. So you can find out more about them. So one is Pro Speaker Biz Bootcamp, Pro Speaker Biz Bootcamp. So if you're a speaker, trainer, author, coach, consultant, or you're an emerging one of those, you want to figure out how to do this. That's a program I put together as a market response to a lady that came to me many years ago saying, hey, I've basically hawked myself. I've invested over 60 grand with this name brand person on how to be a speaker and trainer. Not only do I have no deliverables, I have no way of marketing myself. I'm about to lose my house. And I've heard what you do. I've heard about you. Can you help me? And I said, well, you fly from LA to where I live and let's find a weekend when I'm going to be in town and I'll give you my time and let me see if I can try to help you. From that, the Pro Speaker Biz program came about. You can look at that on there. If you want to know more about when I'm going to do one of those, I limit it to 10 people and I do those kind of a market response a couple of times a year. You send me an email and you'll notice there are some legitimate videos there of the deliverables. I've got a lady that actually is a certified speaking professional. She's an engineer by day trade. She has an engineering company, has a lot of employees, very successful. She came to my boot camp to take her game to the next level. So there's your deliverable. I have emerging speakers that are there as well. The other program I do a couple of times a year is out of my sales suite. I do leadership and sales is what I'm known for. So my Sales Mastery, Performance-Driven Selling 1.0 of my 4 programs I do a 1.0 public program 4 times a year. It's a 2-day intensive boot camp. Day 1 is strategic selling ideas. Day 2 is tactical selling ideas. It's the exact same program that my Fortune 100 clients have been buying from me for over 30 years. It's always evolving content. And that's the program I brought to the public as well. And so that happens 4 times a year, typically in Las Vegas. You want to know when that one is, go there, find out about the program. If it looks like it can help you, send me an email and I'll tell you when the next event is. So those are the 2 that I do, and thank you for asking.
Very cool. And you have a brand new book out too.
Yes, I do. So again, book number 30. So it's this book right here, Sales Mastery. And it's a book that basically is quick hit ideas. It's not a book designed to read from the first page to the last page. It's almost 400 pages. It basically goes through, again, if I'm having problems with a basic mechanics of selling, then boom, there's a section. Look at the specific need, read that chapter. I'm having a hard time, generating leads, not massively flow, but generating good leads, quality leads, working the leads, and getting those into my pipeline. We got ideas on that. How do I set myself up for daily, weekly success every week? How do I benchmark that on Fridays? How do I deal with objections and no's and et cetera? How do I find opportunities in the marketplace that my competition's missing? So that's basically 30 years of selling, again, that I've learned in the trenches. And I have a customized version of that same book for military recruiters. The National Guard, I have been the lead sales consultant to the National Guard on an individual state basis more than anyone else over the past 30 years. I've helped more states to make and exceed mission than anyone else in 30 years. So while at the national levels, they keep investing in vendors that have proven failure track records, I just go straight out to the marketplace to the individual states. So I've got a book that's been tailored to even recruiters. And that's another thing. You can take a book of ideas, you can then tailor it to specific needs as well. So that's my newest book.
Yay. Thank you so much. This has been just really illuminating today, and I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you. And thank you for your listeners. Juliet brings great people every time to her program. So it's kind of like have her programmed into your life so you're tuning in on a regular basis. Thank you for what you do.